I have a little problem. My chameleons told me that they are really, really hungry and that they want to have some flies for dinner. So I obviously need flies. Oh, look, what is that? Keep calm, this is just a piece of paper. I'm trying to be funny in English. Let's just use some old tiny lights instead to make some fly page tabs today. Hi, this is Luise Heinzl. This is something which I probably will need later. And I want to make some flies today from some old tiny lights. Yes, that sounds really, really weird. It probably is weird, but please believe me, this can become really, really interesting, I think. If you don't have such a thing, then you could also use a wire, just a craft wire. Let me think, where do I need to cut this? I think approximately like this. I just wanted to show you a piece of this because this is so, you know, it has an own life, so that you can see which kind of wire you could use. You would need something for this idea which is pretty flexible. It doesn't necessarily need to be doubled like here, because you look, here is this little light in the middle which I want to use for my fly. But you could also take 1 or 2 really thin wires and then take a bead and fiddle the wire through the bead, so then you also have something like this here in the middle. I want to use the light as the body of my fly, and I want to try several different versions how we could make this work. And for that I want to cut this so that I have yeah, how much is that? If I fold this like so, so that the light is here and the wires are all here, then this is approximately 2.5 to 3 inches long. But I think that really doesn't matter. Don't make it too small, otherwise it will drive you crazy. But when you used tiny lights and you have cut this to this length, then you end up with a really short wire here. And then the next light is already here. So that means what I'm doing is I cut these so that the wires next to the light are approximately the same length. So then I thought I want to go with an idea I already had a few years ago. And that was when I made an ideology Halloween make for Tim Holtz. And there I also used these little lights here from the tiny lights in combination with bats. And that is how my idea developed somehow, because I don't want to give my chameleons bats to eat, but flies. Yeah, so I can't use the bats from ideology, but I need to use something else. And for that, I thought we could try something like this. This is just from a packaging. That was pure coincidence that this is such a holographic thing. But I thought for making flies and in a chameleon journal, this makes totally sense, doesn't it? I want to crumble this before I cut it, because then it doesn't look so new anymore. So let's cut a piece off so that I can show you that. How I do that. So I take this piece, of course you can use any other transparency or a foil or plastic stuff, but please make sure that what you use is pretty sturdy. And then I fold this in half, and now here where the fold is, I want to cut in here, and I want to make these wings bigger than on a normal fly. I mean, you know, if I would do this so small like a normal fly would be, then it would drive me completely crazy, and I'm assuming that I wouldn't have fun with that then anymore. So this is what I have. So then I have this here. This is the second part of this packaging, and I thought, why don't we use a stamp set I know these are moths and not flies. This is Moth Study CMS 463 by Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holz. And I thought, where is this moth now? This one here, look. I thought these wings here could work for what I want to do. So let's try something. Let's take this and let's take some archival ink. I have a vintage photo here. Why don't I have an acrylic block to stamp? Please don't ask me, okay? I have no idea. Then I'm really hoping that this will dry on here. I will carefully try to dry this with my heat tool, but obviously without melting the plastic. And now I want to cut. How can I show you that? Because it's so transparent. I want to cut only the top part here. And it would also probably be better to let this air dry, because look what it's doing here. Hopefully I can get that flat again later. This transparency reacts a little weird. I will quickly take out. This is probably nothing which I would use in reality, and that's why I will not use it for this video as well, because look what it's doing. This would completely wreck my nerves. So if I have something like this, I search for another material, or I stamp again to the other material and then let it air dry. Yeah, but this is crazy. I can't handle this. So I quickly stamped the moth to a piece of this alcohol ink Durala. It's a transparent material. This is pretty sturdy, but I think that is good. So I will quickly cut this out. And while I was drying this, I thought I don't want to give up on this trash material. So I thought, why don't we take, and that is obviously another option to do this, a piece of paper, and then stamp the moth on here. Then take this. I mean, you could trace it now, of course, if that's easier for you, but I want to try to cut both of these layers so that I can see the stamp impression, and then with that get the shape to this transparent layer as well. I mean, this doesn't have to be perfect, I guess, but this way we don't need to stamp to the transparency itself, but we have the shape and the pattern of the wings on this. I think that could be good as well. What we also could try is we could take, for example, a moth like this. This comes from one of my printables. It's called Moth and Paper Flutter, and it's a printable where you have a ton of moths in different styles, and these are the different layers of the moths. So here you can see this is pretty abstract, but on the printable, I cut this off, you can see that there are always 3 moths which have the same shape. And the first one is a pretty, like, you know, realistic moth with many realistic details, but also these kind of papery accents or so. And then the second layer and the third layer is made from, you know, scanned paper, so that you can cut them out, layer them on top of each other, and then you have a layered moth. So that is how the printable is normally meant to use. But I thought, why don't we take just also this piece here, not the whole thing, instead of the stamp impression. I mean, that's the same idea, but perhaps you don't have a stamp like this. So then you could also do it like this. Just take such a piece. Or you could, of course, also take a whole thing here. I mean, who says that your fly can't have a moth-shaped layer underneath? Yeah, there's no problem with that. So then, when we have that, we need something for our page tabs, because I want to assemble this, and then at the same time I want to have page tabs for my journal. So this here is just a piece from a pillowcase. You can still see the buttons here. So this is the very end, you know, where this part is where you can close the thing, and I can easily tear it so that I can take a little piece and then fold that in half, and with that I already have the perfect page tab. So I will cut a few of these. What I also have here is this. These are just some leftovers from the fabric I've used for making the cover of my journal. This is all Tim Holtz fabric. So then, what are we going to do next? Let's first start with this little thing from the holographic packaging. Then I'm going to take one of these. I make sure that this little light bulb here goes to the center of my wings, just like this. Then the easiest way is to take the wings, hold it like so, then press with your fingers to the little light here, so that you then are able to twist this really, really tight. You could also take some tweezers, if I can find mine, then I would use them. To, after twisting this for a few times, just hold it like here and then twist the other part so that the wings are really like stuck in here. If that is too hard for you because you have perhaps problems with your fingers or you don't have pliers or so, just use a little bit of glue here. For example, super glue would work really well here because that dries within seconds. But if you twist it really, really tight, then this is in here without glue and without the need of glue. And then we already have something which looks like a really cool fly. So then I want to attach this here to this little piece of fabric. I don't like that this is so white, but there's an easy solution. We take our moth, and since this is going to be the back of the back side of the page tab, I will stamp the moth here like so, so that we have a nice thing here. And for this part where the fly shall go, I'm going to take my stamp and remove the ink here, so that I only have, why is my camera not focusing? I'm sorry. So that I only have this part here. So then, ach so, that is German, I'm sorry. By the way, if you don't have such a stamp, you could also take some acrylic paint and paint something like this. You could take like a pen or so and make something like this, so that you have some more interest on this page tab here. Or take a fabric which has like a pattern or so. So now I'm taking my awl and oh my goodness, oh no, this is completely the wrong position. Oh no, I'm trying to poke a hole exactly here where the body of our fly needs to be. Then I take this thing and I fiddle all of the wires through here, so that this can now sit on here like so. And now you have different possibilities. You could say, I put a little bit of glue here so that this piece stays in place. And then I take my journal, decide for the position where the page tab shall go. I take the wire and put it so that, you know, that it peeks out here. Then you could glue this like so, flip this to the other page, glue it like so, and you would be done. Then you could even use this here to put some beads on here, or you could use this to hang some little charms or so. I think that would look really, really interesting. But I want to go a step further, even if I really like how this looks. I want to make a second hole, pretty close to the first one, approximately here. So that I now am able to take my wires and fiddle them back to the front side of this. And here I try to make sure that here on the back everything is nice and flat, that I don't get bulk to this. just like this, like you would do it with a thread or so if you would sew something on. And then when we have that, remember we had 4 of these wires because 2 were on the left and 2 were on the right of the light bulb. So I take 2, put them to the right, and 2 to put them to the left. Then it looks like this. Could you leave this like it is? Obviously, yes. But I want to take this and make a little loop. And the end of this thing, I will again fiddle through the same hole where these just came out, just like this. And I have a little piece here. I hold that with my finger, and now please make sure that this can't run away, yeah? Otherwise you wouldn't get the wing here. Make sure that your finger is pressed on here, and then take this and just twist it, just 3 or 4 times, so that you have then something like this. I do the same thing on the other side, and the reason why I fiddle this through the hole is that I can't then hurt myself with the end of the wire. With these wires it's really not a problem because they can't really hurt you, but you know, when a child or so has the journal in its hands, then you know, I want to have this secure. And if you take like a craft wire or so, perhaps that might be a little more dangerous or so, but you know, I want to be on the safe side. And the main reason is that I don't want to see these little things here, and that's why I do it like this. So now it looks like this. The shape of these look a little bit weird, but you can obviously just do it like this. Do we like this? I think so. I think that looks really nice. Perhaps here, I mean, I know that a fly wouldn't have something here, but I'm just thinking, can we perhaps put something here because it looks a little bit naked there. Oh yes, this has the perfect color. I have this little jar here that is always next to my sewing machine, and I save all of my leftover threads in there when I sew. We could even think about leaving this a little longer. So now I want to use glue. This is just some bookbinders glue. Of course you could take a thread and a needle and sew the button on, but if you know me, you know that I absolutely hate sewing buttons, and that's why I want to do it like this. But I want to make sure that I can still see the bulb, this little light. Is it really a bulb? It's not a bulb. I think that is not the correct English word, but you know, this thing from the tiny light as the body of the fly. Can you see it's still there? And I find that really important because I want that you can see that this is made from this material. So we are going to let that dry, and then we can later on decide if we want to leave this that long or if we want to make it a little shorter. Let's think about the next one. Let's perhaps take this piece of fabric. Then let's take this paper thing and perhaps one of these from the Durala. And here, this material is pretty sturdy. You can see when I bend this, it stays in the shape. That is pretty good on the one hand because it's so sturdy. I mean, you can't destroy this. But on the other hand, we need to make sure that we twist this light, this thing, really accurately around this so that it can't fall out. So we take this again and I put this over here again. And when I press this here with my fingernail, I can already feel that I can't press it enough to make this really sturdy. So what are we going to do? We take this and we start to twist then first we try the trick to hold it here, like exactly like we did it with the other thing, and try to twist here and see if it works. It's a little bit wiggly woggly, kind of, but I mean, where shall it go? Yeah, it can't fall out, this can't tear, it's just not so nice that it wiggles like this. But you know, if you like it, then there's no problem for you. But we will, I think I will solve that problem later. Because first I want to see how we can do this, because this is obviously just paper. So I can't do the twisting with the wire around this paper, because otherwise it would tear apart. It's just not sturdy enough to twist the wire around. But what we could do is we could just take this. Oh my goodness, this is just beautiful, isn't it? We could just take this and glue it down there and leave these things here like so. Or what we also could, of course, try is we could take, as we did it with the other one, 2 wires, and then we could, let's see if we like that. Yeah, why not? Why not? That looks somehow really interesting when there are 2 layers of these wings. But now we have the problem that we have the end of the wire here. And I think I don't want to make a hole here. This is so tiny, I'm so sorry. Hopefully you can see that. I have made the loops, and now I take this here with my fingers. All 4 wires are in my finger now, in between of my fingers. And now I'm trying to twist these loops. It's the same idea like on the other one where we had the hole in the fabric. But this time I want to try to have these visible here. So now the loops are safe. Now we need to twist this. Otherwise, this will probably drive me crazy. I'm just realizing that this is not really a problem. I mean, please make sure that when you do something like this, that you can't hurt yourself. But you can see this is like, if you hurt yourself with this wire while flipping through the journal, then you probably shouldn't flip through a journal. Do you know what I mean? I think then you have also other problems in your life. So I don't care that these are now on the top of this. I'm sorry. But sometimes I think we also overthink these security things. I mean, obviously, you should think about something like that. Yeah, please make sure that you are safe when you are crafting, but this shouldn't really be a problem. And what I also think is we could try to take this and separate this a little bit. Then it looks like this. And I think when we now, oh yes, when we now put this here, that looks really interesting, but the wire is also a little bit invisible on this fabric. So I'm just trying to see if I perhaps can, oh yes, look. You can perhaps do it like this, then the wire on the green pops out more. Okay, but now, now we have to think about this, because when I take this and when then the fabric later on goes around the page like this, oh, I'm so sorry, you can't see anything. This is overlapping too much for my taste. So let's see if we put this here. So that it's, I want to try out what happens if it's completely on the fabric. And then when this then would go around the page like so, and the page would go until here, yeah, I think that should work. So I would then decide for the position on the page, glue this part down, and then this wing here would be only, you know, until the edge of the page here so that it can't bend and that it doesn't peek out. But the fabric I can glue like so, so that this then functions as a page tab, and that this then later, the piece of the fabric, peeks out like so when you close the journal. But the fly is still safe then. So then what else do we have? We have this transparent layer and both of these. And here we also can't take the piece from the tiny light and wrap that around the paper. It's the same thing like before. So let's take this. And what I also want to try is, since this is so, you know, it's really invisible, I want to try to take some of this material. This is just made from plastic, and I have also already used that here on the cover. And I'm really missing these little things in the journal. This is like so. And then we can perhaps carefully cut this off so that this can be like so then. This looks really cool. But the plastic is also pretty invisible, isn't it? Let's take some alcohol ink. This is the color Chronicle. I will put a little bit to these flowers as well. I mean, why not? Perhaps it's a good idea to use this additionally, because this is still... I mean, it's there, yeah? It's definitely there, but it's a little bit sad that you can't see that so well. Let's try to just bend this. Hold it here. Yeah, look. That looks way more interesting. I like that way better. And it's not even the same directions the wings have now. Can you see it? This looks now like a fly flower or so, but that is really cool. I mean, it's abstract, yeah, but I really like that. That is really cool. Okay, but how to how to get this on there now so that it adds not so much bulk? I think in this case we need to change the plan with those stamped things a little bit and do something which is like so that it is here peeking out completely. And I mean, how gorgeous is that? Oh my goodness, I need to make more of these. If this was here somehow like so, then it could peek out like this without adding bulk, and I think that is really cool. Can you see the transparency in the camera? Hopefully. So that means if this was on the page like so, then this would need to go on here somehow like this. But how shall we attach that now? I need I'm sorry, I need the right color. Okay, let's take this dragonfly wing. Let's glue this to this. Let's then take some thread, glue the thread here, then this. Sorry, before we glue that, we take this, put this on here and cover the wire with this thing. Then, what an operation. Then we take a stapler, alternatively, or go to our sewing machine, make a little party for the neighbors. And I think we could already leave this exactly like it is. This is irgendwie the weirdest thing I have ever made. But we could also then we glue or sew this button on here. I think we have a total of 3 page tabs now. Is that correct? Wait, what? Only 3? Somehow I really like this color combination with this extreme green and this Tim Holtz fabric. I mean, both of these fit really well together. This is a little bit like, you know, different. It's popping out a little bit, but who cares? So I will then search for the right spots where I want to put these, and with right I mean the spots I like to have these page tabs, and then this will go on here somehow, but I will do that off camera, and then you can see the finished thing in the flip through of this journal, which will come soon. Oh, even if I had this in mind in the other direction, it looks on a left page as beautiful as on a right page when this goes down instead of up. But I really, really like this. I mean, what? This is so cool. I mean, this is definitely not what I had in mind, but this is somehow a new idea which developed from this fly idea. Oh, I like this. And I especially like this with this thread here. I would probably add some splatters after I have attached this to the page, but that is really cute. And then when the journal is closed, this would then peek out like so. Can you see it there? It's really hard to show. Have a very great and creative day, perhaps also with some flies for dinner. Bye bye.